The café buzzed with noise until a sudden accident silenced the room. A young woman froze, humiliated, as hot coffee stained her dress. Dozens of eyes turned away, except one. A single dad with his little girl stepped forward, offering help no one else dared. He thought it was just a small act of kindness. But in that moment, lives quietly shifted, and a story far bigger than spilled coffee began. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Let's begin. The cafe buzzed with morning chatter, the hiss of the espresso machine filling the air. Ethan Walker sat by the window, his 8-year-old daughter Lily coloring beside him. Bills weighed heavy in his pocket, but for a few minutes, he let her laughter lighten the load. Then it happened, the crash of ceramic, a gasp, and a silence that spread like ripples in water. At the counter stood a young woman in a pale ivory dress, coffee dripping down the front like a cruel stain. Her cheeks flushed red as strangers stared but didn't move. She froze, fumbling for napkins, panic written all over her. Ethan didn't think twice. He slipped off his worn jacket and crossed the room. "Here," he said, draping it gently over her shoulders. His voice carried calm, not pity. Lily tugged his sleeve and whispered, "Daddy, she needs this more than me," offering her favorite pink scarf. The woman's lips trembled as she wrapped it around her neck, her eyes glistening. I have a meeting," she stammered. "An important one." "It's ruined." Ethan crouched, meeting her gaze. "No, it isn't. Walk in like you own the room. Confidence is louder than coffee stains." The woman looked at him strangely, as if she'd heard those words before. Then she whispered, "Thank you, you have no idea how much this means." She hurried out the door, wrapped in a stranger's jacket and a child's scarf. Ethan sat back down, brushing it off as a small act of kindness. But Lily leaned closer, her eyes bright. "Daddy. I think she's someone important." Hours passed. Ethan thought no more about the woman. He picked Lily up from school, made grilled cheese for dinner, and sat with overdue bills spread across the kitchen table. The scarf was gone, the jacket too, and he doubted he'd ever see either again. But just before closing time, the cafe door opened again. Heads turned as the same woman walked in, her dress still stained, but her posture taller, her heels striking the floor with purpose. She carried an energy that silenced the room. She stopped right in front of Ethan and Lily, her chest heaving like she'd run. "I closed it," she blurted out. "Closed what?" Ethan asked. "The deal," she said, voice trembling with triumph. "Your words, confidence over stains, they carried me through. Without them, I would have lost everything." Lily squealed. "Told you you'd win." The woman laughed softly, brushing a strand of hair back. She crouched to Lily's level, whispering, "Your scarf was my shield today." Before Ethan could reply, she pulled a napkin from her purse and scribbled something quickly. She pressed it into his palm, her name and a number written in bold, deliberate strokes. "Don't throw that away," she said, eyes steady. "This isn't over." She left as quickly as she came. Ethan unfolded the napkin again, his brows furrowing. The name Madison Cole triggered something in his memory, an article he once read about a powerful company, a CEO under pressure. Why would a woman like her want to keep in touch with a man like him? And then his phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Ethan, it's Madison. Tomorrow. Noon. I'll explain everything." Lily peeked at the message and whispered, "Daddy, are we in trouble?" The next morning, Ethan dropped Lily at school and tried to focus on work, but the napkin with Madison Cole scrawled across it weighed heavier than any toolbox. Why would a stranger, one who clearly belonged to another world, ask to meet him? At noon sharp, he stood in front of a glass skyscraper that seemed to scrape the sky. Polished shoes clicked across the marble lobby, men in suits swept past without noticing him, a construction worker in faded jeans and worn boots. He considered leaving. "Mr. Walker?" A receptionist approached, clipboard in hand. "She's expecting you." Expecting him? Ethan's chest tightened. He rode the elevator up, each floor adding to the pit in his stomach. When the doors opened, he stepped into an office that looked like something out of a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows, city spread wide below. And there she was. Madison Cole, no coffee stain now, just a tailored suit that radiated authority. She smiled faintly. "You came." Ethan crossed his arms. Not sure why. "Because curiosity is stronger than fear," she said smoothly, motioning for him to sit. He didn't. "What is this? Some kind of thank you?" Madison's gaze sharpened. "No. It's recognition. You didn't just save me from humiliation, you may have saved my company. And I don't believe in accidents." Ethan frowned. "What do you want from me?" Madison leaned forward, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "Trust. Someone who isn't afraid to speak truth, even when it's inconvenient. And I think that person is you." Ethan shook his head, uneasy. "You've got boardrooms full of people smarter than me." Her lips curved, almost bitter. "Smarter, yes. Honest? No." Before he could answer, the office phone rang. Madison froze, eyes narrowing at the caller ID. She silenced it quickly, too quickly. Ethan caught it. "Who was that?" She hesitated, then said, "Someone who won't stop until they ruin me." Her smile had cracks now. And Ethan realized something: Madison hadn't invited him just out of gratitude. She needed him. Ethan's jaw tightened. He didn't like riddles, and Madison's words felt like one wrapped in velvet. "Why me?" he pressed. "Why drag a stranger into your mess?" Madison stood, walking to the window. The city glowed behind her like a battlefield. "Because everyone around me has something to lose if the truth comes out. My executives, my partners, even my lawyers. But you," she turned, eyes sharp. "You have nothing they can buy." Ethan bristled. "I've got a daughter. That's everything I have." Madison softened, just for a moment. "Which is why I trust you. Because you protect what matters." Before Ethan could respond, the office door cracked open. A tall man in a gray suit stepped in uninvited, his smile too smooth. "You didn't answer your phone, Madison. That worries people." Her shoulders stiffened. "Leave, Victor. Now." But the man's eyes slid past her to Ethan, studying him like prey. "And who's this? Doesn't look like board material." Ethan's fists curled, instinct screaming. Madison stepped between them, her voice icy. "He's none of your concern." Victor smirked, but his gaze lingered. "Everything's my concern. Especially if it threatens the company." When he finally left, the room felt colder. Madison pressed a hand to her temple. "That was Victor Hale. Chairman of my board. He's been circling like a vulture. If he knew what I know, he'd destroy me." Ethan frowned. "And what is it you know?" She met his eyes, the CEO mask gone, just a woman now, trembling at the edge of something. "That the company I inherited isn't clean. And Victor's behind it." Ethan stepped back, pulse racing. He'd thought he was helping a woman with a coffee stain. Instead, he'd just walked into a war. And the worst part? Victor Hale had seen his face. That night, Ethan tried to shake it off. He made mac and cheese for Lily, listened to her chatter about school projects, and forced a smile while she drew castles on scrap paper. But his mind replayed Victor Hale's smirk again and again. By the time Lily was asleep, a low unease had settled in his bones. He went to check the locks, and froze. An envelope sat on the doormat. No stamp. No name. Just his address scrawled in black marker. He tore it open. Inside were photographs. Grainy, taken from a distance, him walking Lily to school, Lily swinging at the park, the two of them eating in the café. A note at the bottom chilled him to the core. Stay away from Madison Cole. Or we stay close to your daughter. Ethan's hands trembled. He stuffed the photos back in the envelope and shoved it deep into a drawer. But when he looked up, Lily stood in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, why are you mad?" He forced a calm voice. "Not mad, kiddo. Just tired." But Lily frowned, sharp beyond her years. "You always check the locks when you're scared." Ethan knelt, brushing her hair back. "You don't need to worry. I'll always keep you safe." He meant it, but the words tasted like a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. The next morning, his phone buzzed. A message from Madison: "I need you today. Urgent." He almost ignored it, until he noticed another message arrive seconds later. Not from Madison. From an unknown number. It read, "We warned you. Last chance." Ethan's heart pounded. He had to choose, walk away and protect Lily, or step into Madison's world and risk everything. And as he looked out the window, he spotted it, a black car idling across the street. Watching. By mid-afternoon Ethan's nerves were frayed. The black car was gone, but its shadow lingered in his mind. He told his neighbor Mrs. Kendrick to watch Lily, just in case, then headed downtown. Every instinct screamed to stay away, but curiosity and duty pulled him harder. Madison's office was quieter than before. No assistants, no phones ringing, just her, standing by the window with a glass of water she hadn't touched. She turned when Ethan walked in, relief flickering across her face. "You came," she said softly. "I almost didn't," Ethan replied, tossing the envelope of photos on her desk. "Your board doesn't just want you out. They're coming after me and my kid." Madison's eyes darkened. She opened the envelope, her hand trembling as she saw Lily's face in the photos. "Victor's sending a message. He won't stop until I'm either under his thumb or ruined." Ethan leaned forward. "Then why not go to the police?" She laughed bitterly. "Victor is the police. Half of the department owes him favors. The rest fear him." Ethan exhaled, anger boiling. "So why involve me? Why drag a single dad into this war?" Madison hesitated, then slid open a drawer. She pulled out a thick folder, its edges frayed, and pushed it across the desk. Inside were ledgers, offshore accounts, wire transfers, proof of laundering and fraud. "This," she whispered, "is what my father left me when he died. He built an empire with Victor, then realized too late what it had become. He begged me to clean it up. And I tried. But I'm drowning." Ethan stared at the papers, the numbers blurring together. "Why give this to me?" Her voice cracked. "Because if anything happens to me, someone good has to hold it. Someone they can't buy." Ethan shut the folder, shoving it back. "You don't know me, Madison." Her eyes searched his. "I know enough. I know you jumped up in a café when everyone else stayed seated. I know your daughter trusts you with her whole heart. That's more than I can say for anyone on my board." Ethan turned to leave, but froze when he saw the reflection in the glass door. A shadow. Someone listening. The knob twisted. The door creaked open, slow and deliberate. Ethan's muscles tensed. A tall man in a black overcoat stepped inside, his expression blank, his eyes flat as river stones. He didn't bother with introductions. "Hand over the folder," he said, voice low but edged like steel. Madison stiffened, but Ethan stepped in front of her. "She doesn't have it." The man's gaze flicked to Ethan's calloused hands, then back to Madison. Victor doesn't like loose ends. You've already made one mistake. Don't make another. For a tense heartbeat, no one moved. Then Ethan noticed something: the man wasn't here to talk. His hand hovered near his jacket pocket, where the shape of a gun pressed against the fabric. Ethan acted on instinct. He grabbed the folder and hurled it at the intruder's chest. Papers scattered like snow as Ethan lunged, slamming the man against the wall. The gun clattered across the floor, skidding under Madison's desk. "Run!" Ethan barked. Madison hesitated, then scrambled for the weapon, sliding it across the floor toward Ethan's reach. But before he could grab it, the intruder kneed him hard in the ribs, knocking the breath from his lungs. Madison screamed as the man pulled a knife from his sleeve, the steel flashing under the office lights. Ethan staggered back, clutching his side, then snatched the nearest thing, a heavy glass paperweight, and swung with every ounce of strength. The blow cracked against the intruder's temple. He crumpled to the carpet, knife slipping from his hand. Silence crashed down, broken only by Madison's ragged breathing. Ethan dropped the paperweight, chest heaving. "He wasn't bluffing," he said. "They want you gone." Madison knelt beside the unconscious man, her hands trembling. "Not just me. You too." He knew your name. Ethan's blood ran cold. If Victor's men knew his name, they knew where to find Lily. And as if on cue, Ethan's phone buzzed. A new message. No number. Just 6 chilling words. "Your daughter's school. We're already here." Ethan's vision tunneled on the glowing screen. "Your daughter's school. We're already here." His chest clenched. He bolted for the door, Madison on his heels. "Stay here," he barked, but she shook her head, eyes fierce. "If Victor has Lily, it's my fault. I'm not hiding." They tore through traffic, Ethan's old truck groaning as he pushed it harder than ever. Every red light felt like an eternity. He barely heard Madison's frantic words, something about Victor wanting to silence her father's evidence forever, because all he could see was Lily's face. When they screeched up to the school, panic surged. A sleek black SUV idled by the curb, engine humming. 2 men in suits stood near the entrance, their posture too rigid, too watchful. Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Stay in the truck," he ordered Madison. She ignored him, already dialing her phone. "I've got a direct line to a federal agent who owes me a favor. Buy us 2 minutes." Ethan slammed the door and strode toward the school, every muscle taut. "Looking for someone?" he asked evenly. The taller man smirked. "Walker. You move fast. Too bad you're late." Before Ethan could reply, the school doors burst open. Lily ran out, clutching her backpack, and froze when she saw the men. One reached for her arm, but Ethan lunged, grabbing the man by the collar and slamming him against the SUV. The second reached inside his jacket, but sirens wailed, slicing through the tension. Madison's call had worked. Unmarked federal cars swarmed the street, agents pouring out. The men froze, hands yanked behind their backs in seconds. Victor's SUV screeched away, tires screaming. Ethan dropped to his knees, scooping Lily into his arms. She buried her face against his chest, sobbing. "Daddy, I was so scared." He pressed his lips to her hair, whispering, "I've got you, kiddo. I'll always have you." Later, in the safety of their apartment, Madison laid the folder of evidence on the table. "The agents will use this to bury Victor," she said quietly. "But they couldn't have gotten it without you." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't do it for them. I did it for her." He glanced at Lily, now fast asleep on the couch, clutching her pink scarf like a shield. Madison's voice softened. "That's why I trust you. Because you didn't see a CEO or a scandal. You saw a person worth saving. That's rare, Ethan. And it's why I need you, not just in business, but in my life. Ethan looked at her, torn between disbelief and something warmer flickering in his chest. His act of kindness in a café had spiraled into chaos, danger, and unexpected hope. As the night deepened, he realized the truth: one small act can change everything. And sometimes, the quietest choices echo the loudest. But outside, in the shadows across the street, another pair of headlights flickered, lingering too long before pulling away. The war with Victor wasn't over. It had only just begun. The next morning, Ethan barely had time to breathe. Lily clung to him before school, whispering, "Don't let the bad men come back, Daddy." He promised, though the weight of last night pressed on his chest like a vice. Madison called him to her office. "Victor won't stop," she said. "The only way forward is to confront him on his own turf, the boardroom." Ethan didn't belong in suits or skyscrapers, but he went. The boardroom gleamed with glass and marble, executives staring like hawks. Victor Hale sat at the head, his smile smooth as poison. Madison placed the folder of evidence on the table. "Gentlemen, these documents show how funds were siphoned into offshore accounts. This company has been poisoned from within." Murmurs filled the room. Victor's expression never wavered. Instead, he leaned back and said coolly, "And where did you find this miraculous folder, Madison?" "Oh, that's right. From him." Every eye turned to Ethan. "A construction worker in borrowed clothes." Victor's voice dripped venom. "You expect us to believe a man like that isn't just here for a payday? He's not your savior. He's your liability." Ethan's fists curled under the table. But before he could speak, one executive, a woman with silver streaks in her hair, leaned forward. "Funny, Victor. You never questioned credentials when the money flowed your way. I, for one, want to hear the outsider's view." All eyes returned to Ethan. His throat tightened. This wasn't his world. But Lily's face flashed in his mind, and he spoke. "I'm not here for titles or money. I'm here because when something's broken, you fix it. Whether it's a building, or a company rotting from the inside." A murmur of approval rippled. But Victor's smirk deepened. "Touching," he sneered. "Too bad you don't know whose hands built that rot in the first place." He slid a photograph across the table, Ethan's late father, shaking hands with Victor Hale. Madison's gasp cut through the silence. Ethan's world tilted. His father, the man who taught him kindness above all, tied to the very corruption Ethan now fought? Ethan's hands trembled as he stared at the photograph. His father, William Walker, smiling, arm extended, shaking Victor Hale's hand like they were old friends. Victor's voice was smooth as silk. "Your father wasn't the saint you thought he was. He helped me lay the foundation of this empire. Every dirty dollar passed through his hands first." Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to shout, deny, tear the photo in half. But deep down, doubt gnawed at him. His father had died years ago, a man of modest means, never rich but always steady. Could it be true? Madison's eyes flicked to Ethan, worried. "Don't listen to him. Victor twists everything." But Victor leaned closer, his smirk widening. "You see? She needs you to play the loyal pawn. Just like your father did for me. But pawns are disposable." The board erupted into arguments. Some shouted at Madison to prove the documents, others demanded Victor step aside. Ethan couldn't move. He heard his father's old words echo, "Even when the world kicks you, son, you don't stop being decent." And then it hit him. "No," Ethan said, his voice low but cutting through the noise. "My father may have worked with you. But if he did, it was because you tricked him. He died broke, Victor. If he wanted your money, he'd have had it. What he left me wasn't cash or power. It was a lesson: honesty is worth more than all of this. Victor's smirk finally faltered. But before the board could respond, the conference doors burst open. Two men stormed in, Hale's enforcers from the night before. One yanked Ethan up by the collar. The other pressed a gun to Madison's side. Gasps filled the room. Victor rose slowly, like a king reclaiming his throne. Enough of this theater. Madison, resign. Walker, disappear. Or your daughter pays the price. The room froze. Ethan's pulse roared in his ears. For the first time, he realized Victor wasn't bluffing. Then Madison whispered, steady and unshaken, "Check your phone, Victor." He blinked, pulling it from his pocket. His face drained of color. Around the boardroom, phones buzzed, every executive receiving the same encrypted file. Madison's voice rang out, sharp and clear, "The evidence isn't in that folder anymore. It's in the hands of federal agents. By now, they've frozen your accounts." The board erupted in chaos. Sirens wailed outside the skyscraper. The enforcers exchanged panicked looks. And for the first time, Victor Hale's mask cracked. He glared at Ethan. "This isn't over." Ethan, chest heaving, met his eyes. "No. It's just beginning." For weeks, Ethan kept the package sealed in a drawer, its warning echoing in his mind. But life didn't stop. He still walked Lily to school each morning, still packed her lunches, still fixed leaky faucets for neighbors who couldn't afford plumbers. And Madison? She no longer stood alone in glass towers. She visited their modest apartment often, sometimes with papers, sometimes with takeout, sometimes just to sit and laugh with Lily over board games. She was still a CEO, powerful, commanding, but with Ethan and Lily, she let herself simply be Madison. One quiet evening, Lily curled against her father on the couch, scarf wrapped snug around her shoulders. "Daddy," she whispered, "do you think helping someone can really change the world?" Ethan kissed the top of her head, his voice low. "Maybe not the whole world. But it can change their world. And sometimes, that's enough." Madison's eyes softened, shimmering in the lamplight. She reached across the couch, her hand brushing Ethan's. No speeches, no promises, just quiet gratitude. The kind that spoke louder than any boardroom applause. Ethan looked at them, his daughter safe, Madison smiling, the air filled with something warmer than hope. And he realized the truth his father had tried to teach him all along. Wealth, power, and fear fade. But honesty and kindness echo forever. What began as a spilled coffee in a crowded café had grown into something larger than any of them could have imagined, a bond built not on appearances, but on trust, resilience, and the courage to do the right thing when no one else would. And as the city lights blinked beyond the window, Ethan finally believed it. One small act of kindness can start a chain strong enough to carry an entire life into the light. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more stories that stay with you.